If you've been in the world of crypto, you've probably heard about gas fees or transaction fees when sending Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. But have you ever stopped to wonder what exactly are these transaction fees? Why do we need to pay them every time we make a Bitcoin transaction? I mean, think about it. When you send money from your bank account to someone else using platforms like Google Pay or Paytm, at least in India, there's usually not a visible transaction fees. So why does Bitcoin have a fee? How does it work and why does it really matter? So in today's video, we are going to break down the Bitcoin transaction fee in detail. We'll explain why this fee is not just a random charge, but an essential part of Bitcoin technology. It incentivizes the computers or miners that keep the network running and helps keep Bitcoin decentralized and permissionless. Bitcoin transaction fees are essentially a small fee or tip that the sender gives to Bitcoin miners to include their transaction in the next block being mined. For your transaction to be valid, a Bitcoin miner needs to pick it up and add it to the next block. There are thousands of miners around the world competing to mine the next block, and your fees acts as an incentive for at least one of them to prioritize your transaction over others. Think of it this way. Imagine you're standing at a crowded bus stop that gives bus service to everyone. You can technically get in the next bus with a ticket, but if somebody else offers a tip to the driver, they get picked to enter the bus first. So if you want to make sure you get in the bus quickly, you'll need to tip the driver too. Similarly, in Bitcoin, if you offer a higher fee or tip, your transaction is more likely to be included in the next block. This fee isn't fixed. You can choose how much you want to pay. However, if the fee is too low, your transaction might take longer to be processed or even get stuck for a few days in the network during busy time. So without these fees, the network could become clogged with low priority transactions, slowing everything down for everybody. The primary reason people pay transaction fee is to ensure that the transactions are processed faster, especially during busy times when Bitcoin network is congested. For example, when Bitcoin price becomes volatile, there are often surge in the number of transactions as people rush to buy, sell or trade. In such moments, paying a high transaction fee incentivizes miner to prioritize your transaction and include it in the next block. So let's say you are a trader and the market is crashing. You need to execute a trade quickly before the price drops further. By offering a slightly higher transaction fee, you can increase the chances of your transaction being confirmed faster, allowing you to act in time. The secondary reason for transaction fees comes from the energy-intensive nature of Bitcoin mining. See, every year Bitcoin miners use increasingly powerful amount of computers that consume significant amount of electricity to add new block in the blockchain. This process requires substantial investment in the hardware and energy cost. At the same time, Bitcoin's network block rewards for miners is halved every 4 years, a process known as halving. This means miners face rising electricity cost, increasing hardware expenses, and shrinking block rewards over time. So it becomes harder for them to stay profitable. However, this also drives them to be more efficient, something I explained in a recent video. Transaction fees provide an additional source of income for miners, helping them cover these expenses and stay motivated to keep the network running efficiently. Bitcoin transactions are not determined by the value of Bitcoin being sent, but rather by the size of transaction measured in bytes and the fee rate, which is expressed in satoshis per byte or sats per byte. Let's break this down. Every Bitcoin transaction contains data including inputs and outputs. Input is the source of Bitcoin being sent and output is the destination of Bitcoin being sent to. The more input and output in a transaction has, the larger the size in bytes. For example, sending 1 Bitcoin or 100 Bitcoins with a single input and output will have similar transaction fees. However, consolidating multiple smaller inputs into one transaction increases its size significantly, making it more costlier. The fees is calculated using this formula. For instance, if your transaction is 250 bytes and the current fee rate is 10 sats per byte, based on the general market, since everyone is paying the fees on average per byte, your total fee would be 2500 sats. Now remember that one Bitcoin consists of 100 million sats. Now, why does this matter? So, block space in Bitcoin is limited to just 4 MB, meaning only a finite number of transactions can fit in each block. So, miners prioritize the transactions that offer higher fees per byte because they want to maximize their earning. This creates a competitive fee market, especially during periods in high network activities. So it's important to note that while the size of the transaction determines its base fee, users can choose how much they are willing to pay per byte based on how quickly they want their transaction to get confirmed. If you are eager for your transaction to get included in the next block, you'll need to set a higher fee rate. Conversely, if you're not in a rush, you can opt for a lower fee rate and wait longer for the confirmation. So your transaction size or complexity, Bitcoin's network congestion, and your urgency are the three major factors that influence the transaction fee. And during the times of high demand, like when Bitcoin prices spike, fees can soar from just a few sats to over thousands of sats. Interestingly, unlike the fiat transactions that often involve intermediaries like banks and reflect monetary values in fiat currency, Bitcoin transactions only record unspent transaction outputs. This can be a complex concept to understand, but essentially, this design ensures that Bitcoin remains decentralized and independent of traditional financial systems. When you send a Bitcoin transaction, it doesn't get confirmed immediately. Instead, it enters a temporary waiting area known as the mempool, short form for memory pool. Think of the mempool as the digital bus stop where all the unconfirmed transactions wait for the miner to pick them up and include them in the next block. Miners will prioritize transactions based on their economic benefit, which means they typically choose transactions offering the highest fees per byte first. This is because miners aim to maximize their earnings by filling the limited block space with the most profitable transaction. If your transaction fees is lower than the average fees being prioritized, your transaction might remain in the mempool for longer, waiting for miner to eventually pick it up. Let's go back to our bus stop analogy. Imagine you're at a crowded bus stop and there's only one bus with limited seats. The driver naturally prioritizes passengers who are willing to tip more to get onboarded. If you're not offering enough tip, you'll have to wait for the next bus or even several buses before you can finally get a seat. This is why many Bitcoin wallets provide fee estimation tools. These tools analyze the current state of the mempool and suggest an optimal fee to ensure your transaction gets confirmed within your desired time frame. Wallets offer options like low, medium, and high priority fees, allowing users to balance cost and speed. During periods of high network activity, such as when the price of Bitcoin is very volatile, mempool congestion increases and fees rise as users compete for block space. In such a case, paying a higher fees becomes essential if you need your transaction confirmed quickly. Transaction fees are a cornerstone of Bitcoin's monetary policy and plays a critical role in maintaining the stability and security of the network. As the block rewards continues to halve every 4 years, the importance of transaction fees grows steadily. While block rewards currently make up a significant portion of miners' revenue, transaction fees can increasingly become a primary source of income for miners much sooner than the distant future. Mining Bitcoin is an incredibly challenging process. Miners face rising electricity cost, increasing mining difficulty, fierce competition from other miners around the world, and the need to invest in even more advanced hardware. On top of that, regulatory pressure in different regions add further complexity to their operations. In this environment, transaction fees provide a reliable and dynamic revenue stream that helps miners stay incentivized to secure the network. The role of transaction fees goes beyond economics. Bitcoin's decentralized and permissionless nature relies on miners to continue to validate and secure the transactions without relying on centralized control or subsidies. Transaction fees ensure that miners are rewarded for their efforts, making it sustainable for them to participate in this difficult dance of maintaining a decentralized monetary network. Moreover, transaction fees also create an efficient market-driven mechanism for prioritizing transactions. During periods of high demand or network congestions, users compete by offering higher fees to get their transactions confirmed. This dynamic not only incentivizes miner but also ensures that Bitcoin remains resilient and functional even under heavy usage. So in summary, transaction fees are far more than just an operational cost. They are essential for keeping Bitcoin decentralized network stable, secure, and permissionless. They provide a sustainable incentive for miners in an increasingly complex environment while ensuring the long-term viability of the blockchain. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Drop any of your questions in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you and answer those questions.